What do you need us to do, Nick?
Nothing. I have my mixer enabled. All you need to do is just disable AI and just have any of the Zoom guests speak, and then you guys speak and see if the audio quality is.
So all you've done is turned off.
I'm going to mute every mic except the ceiling mic though, because that's the one.
Why?
Because we don't want to. That's what the normal. That's where all the processing is turned off. So that's what we're simulating.
Right, but let's. I would say let's turn them on again, and let's just see if that's the whole problem. Is that we have to turn the AI off. Let's see if we can fix it. So now we're in AI-less mode with WestfordCAT driving the cameras. Let's see if it can pick me up. If I wander over here, around the back, I'm still talking. Matt, check your hand around, Matt, make some noise. Can you hear me over here now still? 1, 2. 1, 2. Can you hear me? I can't hear you.
Check.
We can hear you. It's not great though, as he's tapping on the table and stuff, right? The system's trying to probably negate some stuff out and cancel some of the noise out.
Right.
And did you shut off the ceiling speaker?
No,
the ceiling microphone?
Everything is turned on still. It's just the only difference is we've turned off the AI. So it's not looking into those zones that we define, presumably, and trying to decide where the people who are talking are.
So some of what you were just hearing was when he was tapping on that table, that microphone that's on the desk there was ducking the ceiling microphone, because those are considered priority microphones. If someone's talking on one of those desktop microphones, it'll duck the ceiling microphone slightly. So I think it's 12 dB. I'd have to look at what it's doing, right? This is, again, made for the automated system for Zoom. The Zoom system is a little different than the production system. It has different audio feeds that drive it. But part of what we were talking about is if we want to disable the camera's automation, is part of it is just built into that you have to disable AI when in broadcast mode. Because if you don't disable the AI mode when you're trying to use the broadcast, it will adjust the cameras, because that's its purpose, is to adjust the cameras automatically. And that was made for everyday use with Zoom when you're using it on a normal case. But when you use this for broadcast, you have to go into that cameras page, and you have to make sure that AI is disabled, not that it's enabled, because once it's enabled, it will take control of the cameras.
Okay, so you can't get control of it while we've got an AI turned on.
Right. Well, I can control it until it detects
A movement.
so a movement, voice, location.
Right.
He can move
Right. And it'll recall a preset every time it redetects that voice there. So that's why it'll go to where you want it to go, and then it'll move to that position again because it redetected a voice there.
Everybody gets seasick. Okay.
And I mean, the main issue that we had after the last change is that during the hybrid select board, when they're broadcasting, but there's also participants in Zoom, the Zoom audio quality was suffering from that processing not being done on that ceiling mic anymore.
So we think the solution is to turn the ceiling mic off and just have.
Well, I was wondering if maybe we add like a gooseneck here and one there.
How many audio feeds have we got?
We've got
4 floor mics.
Yeah, and this is
One,
one
two.
of them. So that's 2 of them. That's its own, the audience mic. So we could do 2 more over
In
here.
the corners.
Yeah, and that might be enough to kind of make up the difference, but that was one of the things we just have to test.
Could we locate this one? Just the whole reason why this was here is to capture Joe Kinowitz, soft voice. But he, his voice was better in recent planning and zoning board meetings.
Okay.
So.
And we don't have as big a screen here obstructing path to the mic either, so.
True.
So that could free up
So do we have the other
Yeah,
gooseneck
mic,
mics?
right?
If we were to plug the other 2 in and just turn off the ceiling mic.
That could be potentially enough, but then I don't know if you would capture, you probably wouldn't capture everything in the room, like if there's audience participants. I mean, I know someone has to come to the mic, so that kind of eliminates that, but I don't know how much we care about like some things.
I think if we have to, sacrifice something, I think sacrificing being able to hear people in the audience talking is a small thing.
Sure, that makes
As
sense.
long as they can still come to the mic and be heard.
Right.
then I think that's relatively unimportant.
Okay. Well, that,
Andrew.
Mike?
Is that the gooseneck mic right in front of you is on, and the ceiling mic is on? Is that
Yeah,
correct?
correct. So we're gonna set up a couple more goosenecks, and then we're gonna turn off the ceiling
because
mic.
it seems
See
to
if we get
struggle
good
with
enough
Scott,
coverage
John,
with those goosenecks.
maybe one diagonal in the corner.
Drops it around.
Diagonal in the corner. But I mean, it's gonna be hard to simulate with just us in here.
Right.
But we could at least proof of concept it.
Yeah. It would have been a good test tonight, but
I know, unfortunately.
um,
Although that does give us a day or two to kind of come
Sure.
up with something and then see what it does.
there's a conscom meeting tomorrow night, so that'll be a good opportunity.
Is that broadcast too?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Ryan usually.
Can you still hear me, Mike? You didn't seem to be paying attention when I was talking.
No, I can hear you. Everybody keeps talking about mics on the table, so I just have been tuning that out.
Too many
thinking you
mics
weren't
going
calling
on.
me.
That
I did a very poor job of doing
we probably don't even need all length anyway.
Are these goosenecks directional or not really?
that. Not really, no. On access.
Yeah,
is
they're-
ideal.
They're cardioid.
Okay. So they're more like a condenser mic, really, then, and a regular vocal mic or whatever. Do you have another one?
Yes, yeah, we can definitely
Yeah.
make that.
I know that's not Mike typing that fast.
Ah,
I've seen Mike Edwards typing.
is it? I think it's
What do
Andrew
you-
typing.
I can hit the keys that fast.
Itself is a little loose from the base, so
Okay.
this doesn't work. That's probably why.
We have one more in there? Or?
Yeah, we have one more. It's same situation. It's kind
Oh,
of loosey
okay.
goosey.
Well, I mean, if we find this to be the
Yeah.
primary solution, we can always get a couple new ones and have everything.
Yeah, we actually have some that had WCAT stickers on them. So I think
Oh.
that was about 2. So
Oh, nice. Okay. Even better.
save you guys some money.
That would
Did
be
we ever
ideal.
buy you the replacement ones? I know at first we only
lost
bought the
the
bases,
bases.
but did we never buy the top part?
Yeah, unfortunately, it was a different model from this where it has a detachable microphone. We bought us the bases, but the goosenecks never made it.
I don't know, I guess some confusion there or something.
Is that at the end of the fiscal year or something? I'm trying to remember.
It has 1 or 2 years.
Something like that.
1 or 2 years ago.
Okay. All right, so we've got all those mics running now, so I'm going to turn off the ceiling mic. There, so that's turned off the ceiling mic. Can you still hear me okay? I mean, I'm sitting right in front of you.
Yes. Yeah, that sounds good.
And I'm assuming you can hear me fine.
Yep.
And can you hear me?
Far so good?
Yes.
I can hear everyone really well.
I'm going to lean back real quick, like some of the zoning board members like to do. And here's a variance coming up before us. Check, check, 1, 2, 3.
You sound unchanged.
Okay, good. What about me? I'm in between microphones here, so.
I can hear you just fine.
Yeah, you sound okay still. I can tell you're in between them, but you sound fine.
Let's put them all there. Let's see. They're not switching each other off and on, right? They'll all work together so we can have a conversation at the same time and we can hear both parts.
Okay, so I am now sitting in the middle.
And I'm trying to interrupt from over here.
Check, check, 1, 2, 3. I'm sitting in the
Just the
middle
chairman.
between
Point of
2
order.
microphones here, split right down the middle.
So you can hear that
I can,
page okay?
Yep. I
Yep.
can hear you just fine. And I'll say quality wise, it sounds better from, at least on my machine, than the ceiling mic, which is a little tinny.
Right, the AI would probably sort that out, but without the AI turned on, I wouldn't be at all surprised because it's so far away from us. And it's picking up so much more echo versus signal
So
Yeah.
I just want to clarify a little bit. The AI itself is not audio AI. The AI is primarily video tracking, and turning the AI off basically breaks the connection between the box that does the tracking and the microphone. It kind of turns that connection off so it doesn't track that microphone when people are talking. So the AI functionality, when we turn it off, we also set a preset so we can change some of the EQ, reduce the gate in on the ceiling microphone, because there was complaints about the first syllable or so of somebody's speech not being picked up and then the gate opening up. So we purposely set the AI mode up, or sorry, this AI mode off. We set that up to be more of a broadcast only functionality purposely, because that's what was requested. They wanted to, and it was requested that we get rid of all the processing on the ceiling microphone. We just blah, blah, blah. You know, you can't turn off all the processing on a digital ceiling microphone, right? Because that's what it does. If I turned off all the processing, it's going to sound like garbage. So, I don't know who was exactly there with Rob last time who did the test and they said everything sounded good. I just want to clarify though, if we need to change the gates constantly, this may be something where it's just, we're going to be there every week adjusting certain things, because this time there was a really loud group in there and next time it was a soft spoken group. And now you're trying to adjust for this and that, and people in the hallway yelling or kids doing this because, you know, you heard somebody yell something, you picked it up on the far end, right? So we can definitely help. Some of this may be some of your technical staff learn some of these components a little bit so you can make these tweaks yourself. You're like, oh, the gate's a little too tight, we need to make the adjustment. But keep that in mind that once you start touching these configurations, we can't own it as much anymore.
I'm not a big fan of that idea, I have to say, really, because I don't think we're qualified to be tinkering with that stuff.
Fair enough.
No, I wanted to put it out there because some customers want to it, right? And some customers have an internal AV staff. They want to actually own some of these things because they have ideas of, yeah, you know, we want it a little bit finer today, or we want to do this tomorrow. And they want some of the flexibility where it's not just programmed this one way and this one way only. I don't disagree with you, because we basically have to take ownership of that system away when you start touching it, right? The programming of it, we can't really own it then. So I agree that I don't want you touching the system, but it was a comment.
And we might not be calling you every week about it after that, but we will definitely be calling you once a month to say, hey, it sounds horrible, can you put it back the way it was?
Yeah. So that's one option. But this, you know, something like this in a room that is, you know, dynamic, where sometimes you have 10 people in that room, sometimes you have 30 people in that room, sometimes maybe there's only 5 people in that room talking. That ceiling microphone, for me to have it perfect requires, or perfect, for me to have it as good as possible, requires me to put the gate in a little bit higher and these values a little bit higher, which is where our AI mode is on, right? And that's why it's not constantly jumping around the room constantly, you know, all the time with cameras, because we gate it a little bit quieter, where you have to be up to a certain threshold, or you have to be talking for a certain amount of time before that gate opens. So the camera's just not constantly swinging around for every little snap of a finger or something that it hears.
So do I understand it correctly? Yeah. So, Westwood guys, am I understanding it correctly? So it sounds like for produced meetings where you have the folks from the cable, public access, whatever, who are running the meetings, they're steering the cameras. And do we think in those instances we want to resort to the goosenecks on the table? And then in the Zoom automated, the goosenecks are not used and the ceiling mic does everything, and because the AI is back on. Is that sort of the use case that's percolating to the top here?
Well, let me ask before I think the answer is yes, but I think
Okay.
I need to understand something. So when we turn the AI on, what are the gooseneck mics doing?
Well, they can be helpful, but they can also be detracting from the sound quality, because you typically, when you have 2 microphones picking up the same source, depending on the distance to the microphone, if you're leaning back in the chair, you can have it be additive or you could have it be subtractive. So the idea is that the ceiling mic can handle pretty much everywhere in the room, and it makes life easy. You can just go in real quick, start a meeting, boom, the system sounds good, it works good. cameras follow you around. That's the primary small meeting use case. But then in the big meetings, if you're going to shut off the cameras, AI, and you're going to sort of make decisions, the producer's going to make decisions on audio. I know having gooseneck mics would be the preferable way in that instance, if that's meaningful. You can still use the ceiling mic audio, but when we first started, was it Matt who was sitting at, who was kind of near one of the gooseneck mics, and we were getting a double audio image, like a 20. Right. So
yeah, sorry. So what we've been doing so far is a bit of a mishmash between both. And it, quite frankly, has worked well for us as sort of a compromise. I mentioned earlier that, you know, the reason why that particular microphone was over there by the town staff location is one of the town staff who presides over the meetings has a softer voice, and so we put that gooseneck there.
oh, I see.
You know,
I
supplement.
get you.
And with those recent changes, you now have control over these channels individually, right, on your side?
These channels, no. As far as I'm aware, correct me if I'm wrong, these are mixed into one mix.
Okay.
All the gooseneck microphones. Is that correct?
We have them separate here on the control panel.
Okay.
Yeah, they are. I mean, they're separate
So
inputs that can be muted, but I don't know what it looks like on the program side of the mixer.
yeah, so it depends on what you guys are doing. So the 4 microphones that are not considered the audience microphones can they all come into one mix to your mixer, right? The mutes will individually mute each one, but the volume control is only local in the room on the touch panel.
Okay.
Same thing with the mute buttons on each microphone. You have the push to talks, right, on the microphones themselves. Those act as like a mute button. But if I remember right, I'd have to look at the actual touch panel, but you have volumes and mutes for each one of those microphones, correct?
Yes.
So those mutes would mute it to the far end, but the volume only affects it in room, just so you're aware. Then that gets down mixed to a single audio stream going into your roll-in mixer. For those 4 microphones, you have one audio feed for the ceiling microphone, and you have another audio feed for that one audience microphone that's on the stand, and then you have the 4th audio feed for the program audio. I'd have to look up which one is first, second, third, and fourth, but those are the 4 audio feeds diced out into the roll.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. Audio feed from something that's being shown on the PowerPoint or a video or something like that.
Okay, that makes sense. One question I had too was, so if in a hybrid meeting scenario, select board as an example, we would be broadcasting, we would be using these, and on the, as people who are in the Zoom side as participants in that meeting, if we have the ceiling mic muted and we decide to go with the goosenecks only as the audio, the Zoom will obviously pick up that mic import as well, right? Like
The audience mic?
Yes, that's what Mike Edwards is hearing right now.
Oh yeah.
Yes, yes. That's, yeah.
Exactly.
So I guess to summarize on the cable access side of things, you know, I might have mentioned this before, but you know, whenever the ceiling microphone is, say for example, picking someone up at the guest speaker table there, like an applicant is presenting in front of the board, someone in front here on the panel sneezes or, you know, shifts their papers very loudly, like so, and that the lobe that's pointed this way shifts its priority to that noise, takes away from there. That microphone that's currently, that gooseneck that's on the table there is there to pick up the slack. And you know, over the several meetings that we've covered so far, since the adjustments have been made, that compromise is very satisfactory on my end.
That worked. Oh, good. Okay. Okay.
I think what we're suggesting we would do is we would run like we are now when you were streaming with that mic in the ceiling muted, so it's not going to pay any attention to any of that anymore. It's just going to pick up these 4 things and show them as one signal to you.
It would almost be like we had before, basically.
Yeah.
With less mics.
Right.
Yeah, for the produced meetings. Yes, right.
Is that a direction?
The brilliance of the ceiling mic. So in that instance, Is the only time when we shut the AI off when a meeting is being produced?
Yeah.
Andrew, so could we, that button on the touch panel that shuts the AI off, could we add a macro that also mutes the ceiling mic? Or I guess you guys can do that just as easily on the Roland, because that's where it's happening.
You probably want the flexibility to have.
Yes, I agree. Yep.
Yeah, and for me, I usually show up 30 minutes before a meeting starts anyway. So what I've been doing is
Okay.
the test panel and making the necessary adjustments and turning off features and all that stuff. So I have no problem pushing
What?
switch buttons.
Yeah, one of the things we added on the last visit, which was a request, was when we were muting the ceiling microphone, if AI was still enabled, the cameras were still tracking because they were getting feedback from the microphone previous to its mute state. We put in some logic to actually stop the tracking during a mute process. So when you mute the ceiling microphone, if AI was still enabled, it should stop the tracking at that point.
Okay.
Oh, that's smart. That's smart.
I don't know, Mike. I think, I mean, obviously, it's working nicely now in produced mode, but the real proof is when we have a meeting in here, we've got 6 people shuffling in their seats at the back, and we've got 5 or 6 people sitting around the desk with laptops and papers and pens and things. And there's really no way for us to simulate that easily without, in this kind of environment. But it sounds to me like the proposal is we just do that. We mute the ceiling mic, we turn off the AI when we're in produced mode, and when we're not, we turn on the ceiling mic, turn on AI, and maybe we'll turn off these mics too if we decide we're getting double audio. But
yeah, I mean, my suggestion, just from the audio standpoint, is I would actually keep the ceiling microphone live, right? Just turn AI mode off like we have it now. And then I think right now the ceiling microphone is muted, but keep the ceiling microphone live and then just bring it down on the Roland mixer. That way, if there was some additional audio that was needed outside of these 4 microphones that you needed, you could bring that mix up real time and then back down real time.
Right.
And that way you do treat the primary board, the U-shaped table, as using the wired microphones as their primary connection. But just in case there's a table that couldn't get picked up by them, or an audience member stood up over where that standing mic is, right, and they just want to be picked up by the ceiling microphone, you could ramp that ceiling microphone up on the Roland quickly and not have to run to the touch panel to unmute it.
And I can remember meetings we've had where, like, the robot demo, the kids came and stood in the middle and then I said they're robot. Well, they're not near any of the mics when they do that. So
Right.
Mm.
Yeah.
and they're all nervous and whispering anyway. So
Is the actual select board meeting going to be Thursday this week? Is that confirmed?
Yes, that's Thursday.
Okay, so
but
why
like
don't
I said, we have a conservation meeting tomorrow night, so that
Oh,
would
yeah.
be an opportunity as well.
right.
Is it gonna be
Well,
rowdy?
what I was wondering is
Is it going to be rowdy? Is there anything controversial?
I was thinking we probably won't get many Zoom participants on that to really test the dual functionality. So select board this week. So we should try it with what he's just said. Keep the ceiling mic down, keep it on, use these as the
Let's take the
primary.
ceiling mic mute off.
And then see, because my major concern from this was last time we had the select board, there was some Zoom participants.
Whatever you just did, just threw a bunch of echo into the mix.
Yeah, he turned the ceiling mic back on.
Yeah,
So turn it off again.
Yeah, okay.
You need to adjust.
Yeah, that's something we do on the back.
But it sounds like if we're going to run this mode, we don't want that echo for the Zoom participants.
Right, and usually what I've been doing in the past, kind of like a flip side of that, is in the mix that these microphones are coming through, I usually turn that down. And then if this is capturing very well, let it be.
Right.
Because like I said prior, these microphones here are sort of like the safety net to make.
But it sounds like.
Well, do you want to go flip that right now so we can see if we can just directly see what that effect that has?
It's still going to mess up the Zoom because the Zoom audio is not being processed by you, right?
Right.
Well, I mean, you're not going to completely turn that down, just down enough.
But he's only turning it down in his mix.
Oh, right.
Zoom participants are still hearing it. So
Yeah,
Oh, that's true.
the The Roland actually has different audio mixes than the USB does to the Zoom. They are less processed by design and by request. They actually have less going on, less gate in, less EQ, things like that. Yep. That is correct. It's local reinforcement only. Only the mutes. The mutes will affect the far end, and that's by design because we don't want somebody to mute themselves in the room thinking they're private because they can't hear themselves in the room, but be broadcasted to the far end.
Okay. All right. So I guess that's not
all
going
the
to work.
microphones are on there. We don't have a separate ceiling mic.
No, we don't. So I guess.
How do we sound, Mike?
Can you hear us in?
Is it still echoey?
It's still echoey.
Okay. So we're gonna have to fix that piece out.
Well, that's okay. So maybe just try it with.
Can you all do one little test for me? Can you all reach forward and touch the mute button on each gooseneck? Or mute, or mute them on the touch panel if you can mute.
Oh, those are push to mute and they're always live otherwise? Or they
Yeah.
toggle?
Okay. And the ceiling mic is on. Turn the ceiling mic on.
Yeah, I think.
Check.
All right. Oh, you have to push to mute. They don't toggle mute.
Yeah, no, so you're gonna have to actually turn all those wired microphones off on the touch panel. I think what Charlie's looking for is just to hear just the ceiling microphone by itself and nothing else.
Just the ceiling microphone. Yeah. Matt, is there a mute all
This one.
goosenecks?
No, it's individual per microphone.
Oh, okay. Yeah. If you just.
Because it would mute the ceiling if you did a mute all.
So we only have the ceiling. Well, no.
Yeah.
So I think on the panel we've muted everything except the ceiling mic.
Okay.
And some of the processing has been reduced and changed on this mode because AI is off. And that was by design per request that they wanted to reduce the gate and reduce some of the processing on the microphone when AI is off. So we did that. So when we turn AI on, the microphones should sound a little bit different as well because there's more processing on them.
So
to the Zoom room or to anything, right? That happens regardless. It's processing on the microphone that we're adjusting.
That increases the likelihood of that echo because
right. That makes sense.
These two, Mike would only be hearing the echo if someone speaks here.
So we can probably mute that unless we're going to have somebody present as one thing.
Yeah, or I could just maybe remove these and keep it as is.
Yeah, Matt, will you turn the camera AI back on again?
Sure.
Can we do that while you're streaming?
Yeah.
I'm streaming it.
Yeah, so the center position is purposely not picked up. It's not supposed to be where he's kind of standing right there because that was not a planned location, right? So we have seats around the table or pickups for the ceiling microphone around the table. And then we also have one in that standing position where the audience mic is.
Right, which that's also muted at the moment.
Yeah, so it'll also pick up if I come over here.
Well, so Nick, you were saying getting rid of those.
Yeah.
My only fear with that is those seem to be alleviating the main issues that I saw with that Zoom recording, which is the two people at each end were basically cutting out here and there, and it was as a result of the reduced processing of that.
If we turn off the AI and we mute the ceiling mic, what's your concern? Is there'll be other sounds around, not around the tables, that aren't going to be audible on, well, it's only on the Zoom. You'll still have it, right? You'll still, well, no, you won't have that at all, will you?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm thinking of going in there and we can do a demonstration, because I actually haven't heard what a scenario
sounds like,
here
yeah.
sounds like, especially someone sitting here.
Yeah, I can sit
What that would
there
sound
and
like.
test it.
Yeah, you sound pretty good sitting there in terms of intelligibility.
Right.
Okay.
All right, so did you get what you needed out of that, Charlie? As far as muting everything? Or just wanted to hear what it sounded like, basically?
Yes, I wanted to confirm what I was hearing.
Yeah, it's just hard because we're listening to one pickup location or two pickup locations, right? And truly, you know, if we're talking about, oh, well, we had a problem when this one person was in this one corner that day, right? We need to pick up every single seat, and you have to test every single seat with just the ceiling microphone on. And then you have to test it with ceiling microphone and those other microphones on, because you've had scenarios, I think that you've had both, right? There's a lot of different scenarios to test through. But overall, the pickup was clean when you were sitting in those front positions. Some of the back and forth between who was sitting in the front position and maybe you guys in some of the rear positions, I didn't get the back and forth 100%. And that could have been if you were standing, it's not going to pick you up, or it's not meant to pick you up as well standing as sitting, right? Because these microphones are aimed to someone sitting. So that's another thing to keep in mind when we do these tests.
Okay.
So overall then, do we think the Zoom experience while we're in production mode with just the ceiling mic is better or worse than when we turned on the goosenecks and turned off the ceiling mic?
Well, there are three attributes by which you can judge that. One is fidelity. The best fidelity is always when the mouth and microphone are the shortest distance, and that would be via the goosenecks, right? That provides you with the best fidelity, because the math that's going on and the algorithm that's going on in order to swing a lobe and aim it at you while you speak is a destructive and constructive sort of physics that's going on there. So,
I understand.
So yes, in terms of naturalness of sound, the gooseneck sounded a touch warmer than the ceiling mic, but that's to be expected because of how they operate. The speech intelligibility of the ceiling mic right now is very good. I mean, I can understand you really well. And it seems to be very uniform across the table, you know, where everyone was just sitting, just because we don't have any audience members.
Okay.
Right. I mean, that's what I'd expect with the AI on and not much else noise in the room for sure.
Yeah, it's not on now.
Oh, I thought we turned it back on for him. Yeah, it is on.
Yeah, it is on. It is on right now.
But that means they don't have control of the cameras for WestfordCAT.
Right. So I mean, he just asked for that as
we can't run it like this in a produced meeting. So I don't know why we're testing it.
Well, I think he just wanted to hear the difference between the two. So look, I'm going to turn it back off, and I'm going to mute the ceiling mic, and I'm going to unmute the goosenecks, and I'm going to sit in the center and see, so Nick can hear what he wants to hear, and then we can see what that sounds like.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I didn't need to hear what the difference between the AI and non-AI is. I just
No, it was
what someone in the center. With
yeah. So now the ceiling's off. These are on. I'm going to sit there, and you can hear what you want to hear. Okay. How does this sound? Check, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Good.
Just talking in a regular voice, not in a sort of proclamation voice. So.
It sounds poor.
It does. Cool.
It's the two microphones that are, you know, kind of accessed out like that are picking you up, but they're not on axis, so you're just like an echo in a room, pretty much.
Okay.
So
yeah, so I guess
that's what I expected.
Yeah. Yeah, true. Wow. So I guess I don't know what we do to make it all work when we want to broadcast. I mean, I think we have a solution when it's Zoom only meeting.
Yeah.
We just use that and the natural stuff in the room as expected.
Yeah.
But the broadcast part is where we're.
Seems the crux of this all.
Well, so here's the thing, just to you know, if you're producing, if the cable access guys are producing a meeting means listening to all possible options and going with the one that sounds the best for the moment, you know. So you have zero automation, so the human has to be the automator and decide what's best. You can't make a carte blanche statement saying, oh, well, we need both during a meeting. No, you're producing the meeting. You go with what works best, and you don't go with what doesn't work best. So perhaps you need better queuing or monitoring back in the room so you can hear. Like I'm listening on these QC35 headphones, which are like studio quality. They're super, super good. And if I had 4 faders where I had goosenecks, ceiling, audience, and program coming off the laptop, I'd be riding those faders all meeting long and nursing the meeting along as it goes. That's part of producing it. So,
I mean, so the audio quality that you are producing is okay, isn't it? Isn't that's so when you're producing a meeting, you've got control of the feeds and you're content with that. Is that right?
The last meeting we had, you were good with your stream audio, right?
Yes, it was.
The problem.
This is why I'm saying that these 2 new microphones here, while fine, aren't doing the job to cover where Matt is sitting right now.
So we need that.
Yes, so basically what I'm saying is that the compromise that we have between the ceiling microphone and these 2 additional microphones here plus that one pretty much cover all bases. And these 2 especially are the safety net for when that ceiling microphone, you know, like I said, someone's slamming some papers on the panel tables there.
Right.
Its priority then goes to the front of the room, takes the priority away from whoever's speaking at that table there. That microphone will then, you know, act
so
as a safety net.
I guess what we've got to settle on basically is we can, with these 2 added, we can improve the Zoom audio quality, but it's just going to be echoey.
Yes.
I think that's basically where we're going to land, which I think we just have to live with.
Yeah, and that's why we're here because.
Right.
So let's unmute the roof mic, and then let's see if Mike thinks the audio quality. Okay.
Okay, there we go.
So now we're in echoey mode again, Mike. Is that right?
Yeah.
Mike Edwards.
Yeah, I mean, you're echoey, yeah, but I can hear you.
Yeah, are we legible enough that it's not too much of an effort to figure out what we're saying?
Yeah, you're legible.
I mean, it's probably better than it was.
I want to hear the people around the table, not so much the audience, but yeah.
Okay,
that's
so
the important piece.
if I was sitting over here as the clerk rather than sitting in the corner right by the microphone, is that audio okay? I'm not talking particularly loud at the moment. I'm just talking in a regular voice.
And that's 100% on the ceiling microphone right now.
Yeah.
Right, which is what we
surprised.
expect. And then it's, you know, if we, if I move over here, then obviously that's gotta be better.
Mhm.
And I guess I can hear it in the room now too versus not.
Right.
But I mean, that should pick up the pieces that were getting cut out before from that,
Yeah.
if there was background noise or whatever. So, I mean, if the echo is livable, I think that's probably our best
Yeah.
option.
So it's seeming more and more likely that
We'll just run
Zoom
everything during the. It's
will
gonna suffer from
have to
which, honestly, I
take
mean,
it.
as far as the things go, it's probably it's a luxury more than the fact that we can even do it more than a requirement. So
And presumably with the owl, it was probably equally bad. Because
True.
The owl would have been picking up echo as well off the walls and things. So.
all right, well, I guess we'll try Thursday like this. We'll add these 2. We'll use everything, and we'll just see what that recording looks like. But I mean, realistically, it's probably our only option. We're gonna.
So the only change we're going to make to the configuration as it is for a non-broadcast, non-produced meeting is we're going to turn off the AI, or you'll probably do that anyway.
Yeah, we've already been doing that.
Broadcasted meetings really not going to change other than the fact that we've added these 2.
So our instructions to people are make sure all the mics are turned on for a produced meeting and the AI is off.
Well, I mean, for a produced meeting, it's really on them.
Okay.
Like, we don't need to tell them. In fact, we shouldn't tell anybody to do anything special because they're going to interfere.
Right, but when you're running a regular virtual meeting, you want to turn on all the mics and make sure the AI is turned on.
Right. Which, I mean, honestly, if you want to avoid the echo in a Zoom only, I think you can just use the ceiling mic because it'll have all the processing.
So we can say turn off those mics and just tell it this. Okay.
I mean, honestly, I was thinking, Nick, and let me know what you think about this. I would say part of your process when you come in here is plug these two in, leave them in the spot or whatever, but like literally unplug them until, because then there's just no confusion for other people using stuff. They don't have to go mess with a bunch of mutes, and that'll just work like it's supposed to.
Okay.
So that part of your thing is you come in, you plug in what you need for these, turn the AI off, and then set up your stuff, and that should pretty much be it, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Are we happy with that, Mike? That sound plausible to you, Mike Edwards?
I mean, it doesn't sound like I need to do much of anything with it.
Yes, sir.
No, it's on us. We'll get some instructions written up and so on.
That
yeah.
works for me.
Okay.
All right, let's do it then.
All right. So Thursday will be a good test bed of this new, and I think that'll satisfy the Zoom participants.
Thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mike, for hosting.
Yeah, our pleasure. And let us know how it goes. And
Yes, we will do.
we're yeah. Please give us an update. We're keenly interested.
Okay. Thanks for your time, everyone.
All righty.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay,
Take
bye-bye.
care.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we have at least
So
the
we-
best we're gonna get.
How much has changed your mind except for these two?
Right. Exactly. Which and
Yeah, and
really
you-
that's for the Zoom participant benefit.
Yeah, and you can mess with, if you decide that's not helpful, or if
You
some
know,
reason-
for all we know, that might just be a limitation on Zoom's end.
It could.
You know,
I mean,
can't-
it could
can't
be.
really suss out this.
Well, I think what it stemmed from is because it was fine before. It's just when we turned off some of the processing on that, and it's just that added. I mean, really, I think it's only even been an issue in the select board, but that's where we get the most weird use cases of different people and the most audience participation on
And
Zoom.
of course, we have Scott chairing the meetings.
Right.
Yeah.
That's true.
Not the worst video,
Well,
the worst audio voice in the world.
Fortunately for us, not for long.
Right.
Let's
And
hope
the
the
viewers
person
at
who,
home, you
let's
know,
hope let's hope the person who takes over doesn't have a similar
Right.
spoken style.
Yeah.
I worked in my first long duration job was in a Motorola in a building that had a factory, so it had a TANI, public address system, and I swear to God, they hired people with speech defects to be the TANI operators, and you were like, what? Like it wasn't bad enough it's coming out of the ceiling of a factory and echoing around with all this machinery. You know, like,
Right.
this person can't pronounce an S sound. You know, it's like, really?